A child's eyes glisten with joy as a long, thin balloon is filled with air and comes to life as a dog, rabbit, or sword. Welcome to the world of balloons, magical balloons, and specifically, the art of balloon figure tying, or balloon magic. In this step-by-step presentation, you will be taught by Marvin Hardy, the world's leading authority on balloon figures. For most of his life, Marvin has worked as a professional entertainer. For the last 10 years, he has concentrated primarily on developing balloon figures which delight audiences with their intricate detail and delicate beauty. Equally respected as an author, artist, and teacher, Marvin is frequently featured at seminars and workshops.
Hello, I'm Marvin Hardy. Children of all ages have long been fascinated by the magical world of balloon figure tying. Whether you're a professional or an amateur, this tape will help you learn balloon magic, and you'll soon be entertaining your family, friends, or any audience. Follow the tape carefully, and don't be afraid to rewind to review any section you might be having difficulty with. Take your time, and remember, practice makes perfect. To help show you how easy it is to learn balloon magic, I'd like to introduce Tracy. She's going to work with me today.
Hi there.
How are you doing?
Just fine.
Why don't you follow along with us as I teach her a few figures? The art of balloon figure tying has been around for many generations, Tracy, but it has never caught on with the general public because the balloons are so hard to blow up. Have you ever tried?
A long time ago.
Why don't you try one more time and see how easy it really is?
It's not so easy.
No, it really isn't. But don't feel bad if you can't do it, because most people can't. In order to make it easy for anyone to blow up the balloons and to learn this fascinating art, we have an inflator that has been developed by Qualatex.
Yeah.
You simply hold the balloon between your fingers and insert the end of the nozzle into the balloon. If you put a little bit of extra balloon on the nozzle, then that makes it easier to tie the knot. Then with a full push and pull stroke, the balloon is easily inflated.
Oh, that looks a lot easier.
Now, would you hold that just a minute? Now, one of the difficult things to do is to tie the knot. A lot of people have trouble with that, but if you stretch the balloon out and wrap that around 2 fingers, then you're able to tuck the end of the balloon down through the space between the fingers, and it's easy to tie the knot. Why don't you take a balloon and try that?
Okay. Just pull it over the end of this.
There you go, and a little bit of extra balloon. There you go.
That enough?
Good. Now full stroke. There you go. That ought to be enough. There you go. Now stretch the balloon around 2 fingers.
Just like that.
And tuck it down through the space between your fingers. There you go. That wasn't bad, was it?
No, that was a lot easier.
Okay. Now let me show you the basic concept of balloon figure tying.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. If you take a balloon and twist it to form a bubble and let that bubble go, the bubble won't stay.
Okay.
If you have a series of bubbles, the same thing happens. The bubbles will come undone. But if you continually hold the first bubble and the end of the balloon, then the bubbles in the middle can't come undone. And there isn't room to hold all of the bubbles in your hand, so let the bubbles come up out of your hand, and you can easily compare size, and you can easily see what you're doing and make as many bubbles as you need to for a figure. Now we're going to make a head and 2 ears, and by twisting the base of those 2 ears together, then it'll stay.
It seems like those would break when you twist them like that.
They will. You need to have a very high quality balloon for that. I use Qualatex balloons for that purpose. But if you stretch the balloon out, it's strong enough that you're not going to have any trouble with it. If you don't stretch it and it rubs against itself, that friction causes most of the popping.
I see.
Now let's do 3 more bubbles. We'll do a neck and 2 front legs. Remember, let it extend out of your hand. 2 front legs, and twist the base of those 2 legs together. Now we have the front part of the body. We have the body and a back leg and another back leg, and twist the base of the back legs together leaving a small bubble of air at the base of the tail to hold the back legs in place. So with 3 twists, 3 bubbles each, you have a basic animal.
figure. That didn't look too hard.
It really isn't. Why don't you try it?
Okay, you have to coach me.
All right. We'll start out with a head.
Now, do I have to twist this the same way always?
That's right. It doesn't matter which way you twist, either towards you or away from you, but always twist in the same direction and you won't
Okay.
have any trouble with it. Now hold that bubble and form 2 ears. There's one. Let it extend out of your hand. Twist it again for a second ear. Now stretch it out and twist those 2 ears together at the base. There you go. That's good. Now you need a neck and 2 front legs. There you go. Now twist the base of those 2 together. Okay, looking good. Now at this point you have to make a judgment. You're going to need about this much balloon to make the 2 back legs.
Okay.
So you'd have a fairly short body. If you had more inflated, then you may have to have a longer body to make the back legs match the front.
Okay.
Now the body and the back leg. Now bend it and form the other back leg, a small bubble of air at the base of the tail. Twist those together. Looking good.
Hey, I didn't do too bad.
No, it looks real good.
Masterpiece.
As we did the basic animal, you'll remember that we had 3 twists of 3 bubbles each. Using those same twists without having to learn anything else, you could make any animal by changing the proportion, the relative size of the bubbles. Let me show you.
Okay. You make that look so easy, Marvin.
It is with a lot of practice. You'll notice that we're going to make a rabbit, and to make the rabbit we leave about 3 inches uninflated.
Okay.
Start out with the head. Now the characteristic of a rabbit is the long ears. So we make the long ears. The twist is the same, twisting the base of those 2 bubbles together, and we complete the head.
Okay.
Now a small neck and 2 short front legs. Twist the base of the front legs together, and then a fairly small body, and we use all of the rest of the balloon for the back legs with just a small bubble of air for the tail. Now by placing the front legs between the back legs, we add a little bit of detail for the rabbit.
That's lovely.
Now another good example of that proportion would be the giraffe. We want the giraffe to have a longer tail, and so we leave a
Leave
little
more
bit more uninflated. Start out with a small head and 2 small ears,
Little bitty ears.
and twist the base of the ears together. Now, we want the curve of the neck to be forward, so we just turn it, or we can just curve it
Manipulate
this
the
way.
curve.
Then we have a long neck and 2 front legs. Twist the base of those together. We have the body and the back legs just a little bit shorter than the front legs, as they would be with the giraffe, and twist the base of that together, again leaving a small bubble of air at the base of the tail. So with the same twist, changing proportion, we have the giraffe.
Oh.
If we started out with perhaps a 4 or 5 inch bubble and made all of the bubbles small, then we could make a mouse with the same twist that we've already used.
I see.
There is one other interesting detail that we can add without changing the bubble sequence. That would be the long floppy ears like you'd find on a beagle or a dachshund.
The colors are so bright on these. They're really lovely. Add to the animal.
That really adds to the excitement of balloon magic. We start out with the head, and we make the ears a little bit longer than the basic animal we did before, and twist the base of the ears together. Now because we want the ears to appear to hang down, we turn it over and then wedge the neck and the head in between the ears, forcing them right down in between those 2 bubbles, and then we have the appearance of the floppy ears.
Looks great.
The rest of the animal is the same. We have the neck, the 2 front legs, we have the body, and the 2 back legs, twisting the base of them together as before, And there with the same twist, we've got the beagle or the dachshund.
With floppy ears.
For the dachshund, we would just shorten the legs and we'd make the body longer. One other twist is very important, but easy to do, involves a twist we haven't learned yet. We call it a loop twist. So far we've been working with two bubbles and twisting the base of two bubbles together. This time we're going to do a little bit different. We'll form the head a little bit longer than normal, and then instead of two bubbles, we'll form a loop. You'll notice that we form the loop before we twist the second part of it so that this bubble won't be too tight.
I see.
And then twist the two ends of that loop together, and that'll stay just like the two bubbles did.
And that's a loop twist.
That's a loop twist. Now to form the head, a fancy head like the poodle, we take the end of that balloon and stick it into the middle of the loop and roll the loop over it, and then just kind of pull it down a little bit, and that forms a fancy head like we would have for the poodle. Now we'll form the neck, fairly small neck. We're going to add another unique detail here because the poodle has such a fancy hairdo. We'll add a leg, and then we'll add another bubble for a foot, and then a second foot, and the second leg, and that gives it just
Makes it more
kind of
realistic.
a fancy appearance with the four bubble leg assembly. Then we form the body, and again 4 bubbles for the back legs, the leg, the foot, another foot, and the other leg. And then we can add one more cute detail for the poodle by taking half of the bubble that forms the tail and twisting that in the middle, and then forcing the air in that bubble up to the end of the tail. And if you kind of stretch it there, that forms a ball on the end of the tail and makes the poodle look more realistic.
That's darling.
There you go. There is another figure that we make using that same roll-through head, but just a little bit of a variation. This figure will be a monkey. Now to make the monkey, we make the head a little bit smaller than the poodle's head.
Okay.
And then the loop just
twist.
like we made. This time we'll cut the head through the same way, but just roll it through and just until it appears on the other side. And that forms the face for the monkey. And then a small neck, and we make a loop for the front legs, a small body, and a loop for the back legs. And then if you take the rest of the balloon and kind of curve it around and squeeze on it, then it'll hold that curved appearance, and that's the way we make the monkey. Now the monkey would, it would hang on strings, or you could put a straw down through it, or if you made the loops a little bit larger, a child could put their arm down through it, and the monkey would appear to be hanging onto the
Oh,
child's
I bet
arms.
this is real popular.
Yeah, it really is a good one. So far we've been making animal figures, but there are a number of other things we can make too. Let me show you a couple of flowers.
Okay.
The first one involves a twist we call the tulip twist.
Now, you didn't blow that up very far.
And the flower we make is called the tulip, which is a fairly small blossom.
I see.
Takes about a 3 to 3 inch bubble or so. If you squeeze that at the bottom of the bubble so the air can't come out of that bubble, and then push that knot all the way through. Now in order to do that, if you hold it against your body so that you're bracing against your body, it's easy to do. You push that all the way through and then pinch that knot with the thumb and finger of your other hand, and then using your middle finger and your thumb, you take your finger out and then straighten that bubble.
I see.
Now by twisting it above the knot, and twist it 3 or 4 times, and then as you release the knot, if you push that slightly up into the blossom, then it holds it in place, and there you have the
A
tulip.
tulip.
There's a very neat, dainty, delicate little flower that we can make, which is the daisy. We start out with about a 4 or 5 inch bubble and tie the knot as before. And this time, instead of making the tulip twist involving the whole bubble, we're going to just make a small tulip twist at the end.
Oh.
And that tulip twist will form the center of the blossom, but it'll still stay there because of the twist and the friction. Now we form 2 small bubbles behind that tulip twist, and then we divide the rest of that bubble into 5 petals. You have to kind of guess how large they would be to use up all of
The rest
that
of it.
air for the 5 bubbles. If you have a little bit left over, it's not serious because you can always move that little bit of air that's left over down to the bottom of the stem, and it looks okay there. Now we're going to twist the 5 bubbles together,
Just those 5.
just the 5, and then tuck the tulip twist into the middle of that 5 bubble loop, and that
Make it
forms
easy.
the blossom. Force that air clear down to the end, and there you have the daisy.
That looks great.
Perhaps the most popular flower is this one.
Must be a big flower.
It's quite a bit larger. This involves the tulip twist the same way, this time about an inch or so tulip twist at the knot end of the balloon. And now we're going to use a loop twist to form a petal. We use a loop twist about 1.5 inches from the base of the tulip twist to the outside edge,
Okay.
and form the second side of that loop. And then pulling the tulip twist away from it, we make that twist so that the twist is very tightly in at the base of the tulip twist.
Okay.
Turn it around so that the second loop is formed on the opposite side from the first one. And again,
twist
stretch it out so that that twist is right in tightly against the base of the tulip twist. You'll notice now that the 2 of them are opposite, and the balloon comes out the other side. We form a third loop and twist it right in tightly at the base the same way. And you'll notice I hold it against my body
As a base.
to help hold it tightly so that I can get that twist right in against the base of the tulip twist. Now for the 4th petal, we go opposite the 3rd one and spread the 2 petals apart and bring the balloon up in between them to form the 4th petal. Now form the 4th petal, and again the twist in as tight as you can against that tulip twist, and straighten out the 4 petals, and there you have the blossom.
Oh, that's pretty.
You'll notice we leave a little bit of uninflated end, so form a bubble at the base of that blossom, a small bubble, and then force the air down to the end of the stem, and that leaves a small uninflated portion here which allows the blossom to bob up and down.
Oh, that's lovely. My grandmother would love this.
It's a very popular figure for the adults.
That looked like a lot of fun, Marvin. You must really enjoy performing.
I really do, but it's interesting. I've done magic for a long time. But when I added balloons to the performance about 10 years ago, it added a whole new dimension, and people seem to enjoy it so much more.
I bet.
You know, so far we've worked with animals and flowers, a number of figures, but there are some other exciting figures that we can make with balloons. Perhaps the most popular figure for the young men, for that, or like 9 to 10 or 11, 12-year-old, is this one. We're going to make a sword,
Oh boy.
and this will start out with a tulip twist. So just make a tulip twist on the end of the sword.
Okay.
Okay, now hold the sword as if it were or hold the balloon as if it were the handle of the sword.
Okay.
And bend it down just a little bit above the hand, about 1.5 inches above. You're going to have an awfully short handle, so raise this and lower it in your hand just a little bit more.
Okay.
There you go. And now bend it up about even at the bottom of your hand, and bend it back down again. Now you have to twist that whole cluster just about the middle of the cluster. So just bring it in with both hands and make one twist right in the middle of that cluster. And with one twist, you have the sword. Just straighten up.
Hey, that's pretty easy. On guard.
Okay. There are other figures that are easy to make also. For instance, a biplane. And these figures use the same twist that we've already learned. We're not adding anything new.
Okay.
For the biplane, we'll use the tulip twist, but this time we use it as a propeller.
Oh,
So that's a little propeller going around. Then we have the motor, and then we use a loop twist as the double wing.
I see.
Now we have a loop for the other wing. And there's the front of the biplane.
Looks just like one.
About halfway back, we form a loop for the rudder. And then we have two small loops for the elevators.
Hey,
And they're using the twist that we've already done. There's the biplane.
that's neat. Ready for a trip.
One of the easiest figures to do, and perhaps the most elegant, is the swan.
Oh,
Inflate the balloon to within about 3 inches of the end.
okay.
Hold the knot end of the balloon and form an overlapping loop. Now it overlaps on the side towards your
Towards
body.
you, okay.
Now take a point opposite the knot in the loop and bring that into the knot. If you do that, the knot will be about the middle of the double loop.
Okay.
And then pinching through these two balloons, actually take hold of the knot and hold that knot firmly. And then when you twist these three sections, the knot is firmly locked in at that twist.
Okay.
Now to finish it, open up one side of the double loop, squeeze the other side together and actually tuck it through that loop into your palm, and that forms the body and the tail. Now turning it with the tail towards you, the neck away from you, spread these two bubbles apart and bring the neck up in between them, and pressure from these two bubbles hold the neck upright. Now to complete the head, if you fold the uninflated tip over, just the uninflated tip, and hold that with the end of your finger, and then squeeze with both hands on the neck, applying pressure to as much of the neck as you can until the air comes over the top, then that head will hold its shape.
Oh, that's
and there
very
you have the swan.
pretty. Very pretty.
The figure that takes more air perhaps than any other figure I do is the parrot.
So they're almost all the way up, huh?
Yes, leave about an inch or perhaps a half inch uninflated on the end. Now for the parrot, we start with a small bubble about a half inch, and then that is followed by about a 2-inch bubble. Now, the little bubble is the beak, and the larger bubble will be the head.
Okay.
If you take that knot and stretch it out until it crosses right at that twist, and then twist the head around 2 or 3 times, then that holds that twist in place and forms the head and the
And the beak.
Then if you bring the end of the balloon up alongside so that it sticks up about 4 or 5 inches, about the width of your hand, and twist the two together right at the neck, the base of the head, then by squeezing the two sides of the loop together and bringing this bubble down, that forms the body, and you have to twist it about midway of this bubble to complete the parrot. Then all you have to do is to move the parrot up inside of the hoop. And there you have the parrot on the swing.
That's cute.
A very, very easy figure. As I mentioned, many figures are chronological. Perhaps the oldest figure, the oldest animal that we read about or hear about is the dinosaur. And that has become so popular today. So let me show you how to make a brontosaurus.
Oh, okay.
The Brontosaurus, again, uses the same twist that we've been doing. The Tula twist on this one, though, to form the head, we leave offset. Instead of bringing that into the middle, if you take it right over at the side and leave it offset, and then twist to form the head, then that gives the appearance almost of the mouth underneath. Then we curve the neck slightly, the long neck sticking out, and then two small front legs twisted together at the base. Now, in order to give the dinosaur the appearance of a big, thick body, we use a 3-bubble body, form 2 bubbles, twist the base of them together, and then we form a 3rd bubble and roll that bubble through between those two.
Oh.
And that gives the appearance of the thicker body.
I see.
And then we form the 2 back legs, and the balance of the balloon forms the tail. And there we have the Brontosaurus.
All right, that's neat. I have really enjoyed learning about all this, Marvin. I am going to go practice, and I can think of a group that would really enjoy this.
It's been a pleasure working with you, and I wish you luck in all you do with it.
Thank you.
Now you've seen for yourself that balloon figure tying is easy to learn and fun for children and adults. Hopefully you have the 260Q balloons and hand air inflator and were able to work along with us on this video. If not, we have these items and more in the complete Balloon Magic Kit, including 48 Qualatex 260Q figure tying balloons in assorted colors, 1 easy-to-use Qualatex hand air inflator, and 1 instructional book featuring 21 balloon figures. Also available and offered separately are refill packages of 60 260Q figure tying balloons in assorted colors, a replacement hand air inflator, an advanced instructional book, and of course this video. If you need help finding the Balloon Magic Kit or any of the separate items, please contact Pioneer Balloon Company, 2400 Pioneer Drive, El Dorado, Kansas 67042, or call 1-800-537-7858.